This is an ABC News special report. Now reporting, George Stephanopoulos.
We want to take you straight to Manchester, England. The Chief Constable of the Manchester Police, Ian Hopkins.
The ongoing incident here in Manchester. Can I start by once again expressing my sincere condolences to the families of those that have lost their loved ones in this atrocity. We now have a team of specifically trained family liaison officers working with those families and supporting them. There has been much speculation in the media and on social media as to the names of some of the victims. And whilst I accept that some of this is an inevitability, I would ask that people do allow us to work with the coroner and to work with those families and ensure that they are properly supported before we release the names of those that have sadly lost their lives. As you would expect, the police response across Greater Manchester has been significant today as we help people to continue to go about their daily business and lead their lives here in Greater Manchester. Part of this response has seen us arrest a 23-year-old man in connection with the attack, and we've also carried out 2 warrants, one in Whalley Range and one in Fallowfield. The one in Fallowfield did see us undertake a controlled explosion to gain entry, and again I just wish to reassure those communities that was something that we were doing to gain safe access. It is nothing to be concerned about. We understand that feelings are very raw right now and that people are bound to be looking for answers. However, more than ever, it is vital that our diverse communities that make Greater Manchester such a strong place actually stand together and support each other, as we will be doing in the vigil at 6 p.m. this evening. We will therefore not tolerate hate towards any parts of our community, and should communities be suffering from hate incidents or crime, then I would please urge them to report it to us. This afternoon, as you saw, we were visited by the Home Secretary Theresa May and the Home Secretary Amber Rudd, both of whom were given a briefing about our ongoing operations and the investigation over today and the next few days. I can confirm that the man suspected of carrying out last night's atrocity is 22-year-old Salman Abedi. However, he has not yet been formally named by the coroner, and I wouldn't wish to therefore comment any further about him at this stage. Our priority, along with the police counter-terrorist network and our security partners, is to continue to establish whether he was acting alone or working as part of a wider network. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
So there you have it right here. The Chief Constable of the Manchester Police, Ian Hopkins, making a plea for peace in that town, saying the town of Manchester, a multicultural town, will not tolerate hate. Of course, this comes in the wake of that attack last night at the Ariana Grande concert. 22 dead, 59 injured. Our World News anchor David Muir is on the scene there in Manchester. And David, as the constable just said, there is a major vigil coming forward in the next couple of hours for that city to come together.
You're absolutely right, George. In fact, you can see some of the people gathering for that vigil right here behind me. It's actually going to begin in about 45 minutes or so and expected to last well into the evening. One of the key things we heard just now is that this suspect that they have zeroed in on reached a preliminary identification of 22-year-old Salman Abedi, although he said he's not formally been named by the coroner yet, so he didn't want to offer any more details about the suspect. But the key question, George, as you know, for investigators at this point, is whether or not he was acting alone or part of some larger network that had planned this. And of course, the numbers here are just simply staggering. 22 killed, 59 injured, and as you heard him talk about going easy, using great sensitivity when talking about these families. And you can understand when you're here why he said that, because we're learning today that some of the youngest victims were 8 years old, a little girl. So many families had brought their children to that Ariana Grande concert, George, when that horror began to unfold.
They sure did. Yeah, that's right. It was so hard to see for any of us who brought our kids to concerts like that. Our chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross, here, as well as David said, the constable does not know yet whether he was acting alone or with others, but there has been another arrest and 2 other warrants for searches.
That's right. There was an arrest of a 23-year-old man, name unknown at this point, and they are looking to see if anybody helped Abedi build what was a suicide bomb. That takes some planning and some sophistication. In terms of larger numbers, there are 500 active terror investigations underway right now in Great Britain. This is just one of many.
What we do know is that ISIS has claimed responsibility.
They have said the responsibility. They called him a soldier of the caliphate and that he killed 100 crusaders. That's the words of the ISIS statement on Twitter.
Terry, so much shock. Terry Moran is also in Manchester. So much shock at the end of that concert last night for several minutes. Chaos inside the arena, and so many people had no idea what was happening.
They didn't, Georgia. It was a joyous moment. And think of that crowd. Ariana Grande's fan base, teenagers, young girls, their moms. I talked to parents who were waiting outside and then heard that bomb go off and thought the worst. And at that moment, as you see in those pictures, those pink balloons that had come down from the sky as part of the final, from the roof as part of the final song, all through the arena, now blocking the exits, and outside parents desperately trying to get to their kids. I talked to one father who said that he ran up the stairs, ran through that crowd that was fleeing, finally saw his daughter, grabbed her, and he told me it was like she was born again. It was like the day that she was born.
Some concerns in our own law enforcement that this place was specifically targeted because there would be so many young women and families there. David, before we go, David, you're back in Manchester. As you said, the vigil is coming up and you'll be reporting from there tonight.
We will be reporting from here tonight, George, and the world is really reacting to what it's now seen here in Manchester. As you mentioned, George, so relatable for families back in the United States who do this, with their own families, take their loved ones to these concerts. And I wanted to share with you, as we close here, something that the Prime Minister, Theresa May, as you know, she came to Manchester today, something she said to the people here in the UK. She said the people of Manchester have fallen victim to an attack that targeted some of the youngest people in our society with cold calculation, which is perhaps why this is resonating so deeply here. The victims were so terribly young, George.
We are tracking all the latest. You'll be back for World News Tonight, David Muir. Have a good afternoon.
This has been a special report from ABC News.